Welcome to Jets Rewind. I'm Marty Schupak. I'm joined by my good friend Ralph Schrager, and who's in Massachusetts, and Ray
Yes.
Clifford, who is in Ohio. We're recording this at around 12 noon on October 2nd, Monday, following the Jets' loss to the Kansas City Chiefs 23-20, where everyone is, there's no moral victories in football, but if you listen to the radio in New York, people seem to be happy with what they saw. So I'll start with Ralph. And I'm going to give my 2 cents because I'll
Yeah.
give it now. I just don't want people to get sucked in on one good game by Zach Wilson. I'm a bottom line type of person, and he fumbled the snap in the fourth quarter. Now, with that said, he made a couple of passes, especially the one to Lazard, which that was a NFL all pro pass, the way he squeezed it into that window. So I guess the question is, do we have any sort of future with this guy? I mean, I'd like to have our coach get the team prepared and not come out flat to a game to give the kid a chance. So with that, I want to turn it over to Ralph Schrager. How you doing, Ralph?
Uh, Pretty good. As a 55 year Jet fan, I've seen this kind of game so many times. And just an overview first, I know a lot of fans are pissed at the reffing, and we'll get into that. But the bottom line is good teams find ways to win and bad teams find ways to lose. And the Jets are the world's best at finding ways to lose, all different sorts. The refs had something to do with it last night, but Jet fans who are younger, don't get sucked into that, because you're going to be saying that for the next 30 years, rationalizing this stuff. You are who you are, as Parcells said, and they found several ways to lose last night. A lot of them we're familiar with, Ray. We've seen that stuff before. As far as Zach Wilson goes, I think we got to take it week to week. I think he's definitely showing better footwork and accuracy this year. The stuff, from the neck up, I don't know. Like I said, week to week. I'm not going to get too excited, but at least the games are more watchable. And I think another thing that helped him is the play calling is getting more creative. They're not getting locked into these like 10 or 15 scripted plays, which are just don't work at all. And I think as a whole, a positive. There's no style points in the NFL like in college. So, a loss is a loss, but the season is still early. So that's my general take.
Yeah, okay. And Ray, what are your thoughts about what you witnessed last night?
I At the end of the first quarter, I thought, here we go again, because I I didn't listen to the radio or watch TV at work, so I didn't know it was like watching it live. And so when it was 17-0, I thought, this is just going to be another disaster, even worse than the Cowboy game. And we got, if you want to get technical, we got fortunate with the safety call. It should have been outside, but that's looking at it on a replay from in slow motion on a replay, not from a ref's point of view, which is they probably didn't see his head getting twisted until he was in the end zone. So they don't know that he first grabbed it outside the end zone. We got
But they could have
fortunate on
looked
that,
at
but
it, though.
Well, that's my question,
I don't
Ray.
think that's reviewable.
Yeah, Ray, you know the rules a lot better than me. Is that reviewable? I
Well,
don't think it is.
I don't believe a penalty is reviewable. I think it's more it's a defensive one. So I don't think they've ever thought of it kind of like that, like it would be
Yeah.
with a fumble, something break the plane. I think it's just the ref is going to throw the flag when he sees it. And when they saw it, he was in the end zone. So I don't think it was a bad call per se, but if you look at the replay, we got a break on it. From that point on, though, everything seemed to change. I mean, it just fired everybody up. The defense started playing well. They made Mahomes look a little bit pedestrian at times, which was surprising to me that he, some of the throws he made. It was kind of like the Josh Allen thing in the first game all over again. So through halftime, of course, we never get the breaks. Our 54-yard field goal doinks off the upright and comes back out. And if it's Buffalo, it banks on in. I mean, it's just unreal how we don't get those little breaks that we could use. But all in all, I think I was happy with from the point that they kind of opened it up, and you could see the difference in Zach. I was very happy with it. But my thought after the game was, yeah, but let's see him do it again next week. Let's see if he can do it again the week after that, because I'm not gonna get all excited. But I was happy for him, because it was like, okay, that probably shut a few people up out there in the media for at least a week. He was really good at times. And so, I'm not going to fault him for a fumble. He took his eye off the ball, but it wasn't that hurt. But I mean, overall, he had a solid game. I mean, he wasn't great, but he was solid, and that's all we need him to be. So I was disappointed in the last drive how many long third downs we gave up, which not just the call on Sauce, but I thought they missed an egregious holding on the 22-yard run by Dwayne Johnson, on the 22-yard run by Mahomes. I mean, it should have been, which we got a penalty on that too, so it should have been offsetting and replay the down. I don't know how he didn't call him, other than looked like Dwayne Johnson threw his arms in the air and quit trying to get away from the guy, which probably would have got him the flag.
Yeah, Ray, I think we could agree that as far as the refereeing, we just want to have some consistency.
Yeah.
That's what we want. And I know on one of Isaiah Pacheco's runs, one of the linemen literally tripped one of our guys too. I was watching. I try to pay attention. I'm saying, where is the call? It was just unbelievable. We've been saying for weeks how bad the referees have been. A couple of things in the first quarter I just want to mention is that Jermaine Johnson's got to understand, when somebody pushes you from behind or does something bad, if you retaliate, it's always the second guy that's going to get the flag. It's just like in baseball. It's usually not the first guy that throws out a batter, it's the second guy. And that was so obvious it was going to happen. And it's unfortunate. And, that helped lead to that 17-0 opening by them too. And again, in the first quarter, there was no pressure from our defensive line, and our team came out flat again. Now, Ralph, you've been saying that for the last few years with Salah.
Yeah, it's definitely a chronic problem. I don't want to throw water on this nice victory, but I think part of what we saw last night was the first quarter was such a mismatch. The Jets were so pathetic.
What was the victory you talked about?
Well, the victory being the Jets played a very competitive game against the world champions, and Zach Wilson played well. Anyway, I think a good part of that was that Kansas City basically lost their edge, which happens a lot in sports. It's very dangerous for a team, and I think the Jets jumped on it, which was a good thing. But I mean, they in the first quarter they looked like a high school team outclassed by like a Division I high school team, yeah, I mean, I just feel like it's just been a constant problem for the Jets, coming out flat, and you got to blame the coaches for that. They're just not. Something's not right. It's just.
Right. And by the way, we call this Overreaction Monday because we all overreact certain ways, and I'm the biggest guilty party of it though too. But Ray, Ralph sent me a quick text. Like, Jordan Whitehead was like, he made a couple of awful plays, which I couldn't understand. And I texted to Ralph back. I said, those 3 interceptions in the first game might have been the worst thing to ever happen to him. Did you notice the way he played last night?
Well, I know that on 2 plays particularly, he did what he did several times last year, which he thinks he's bigger than he is. So he tries to just blast the guy off his feet, and the guy always stays up and keeps running. Even that little Pacheco guy, he nailed him hard, but he didn't wrap him up. So he knocked him backwards like a yard or whatever, and then he ran forward another 5. It's that kind of stuff that drives me nuts about him more than anything, is that he doesn't he thinks he thinks he's Ronnie Lott and he's gonna blast guys over and knock them off their feet, and he never does when it matters.
Yeah. And Ralph, during the game, my son Michael Schupak, a huge Jet fan too, I guess it was after one of his runs, Mahomes, he texted me, and I was thinking the exact same thing. He said, Dad, he says, why don't they put a spy on Mahomes?
Marty, first of all, that last drive that they had, I have never seen a team overcome a 3rd and 22, a 3rd and 20, and a 3rd and 11. Now I
never saw
understand
Tom Brady play.
I against the Jets.
Against the Jets.
I know the Jets are horrible about that. I know Josh Allen, I see it in my nightmares. He's always getting 15 when they need 14 on 3rd down. It's a constant thing. But in one drive for that, I understand the Sauce Gardner penalty was iffy. But those two other plays that Mahomes ran, they were in man-to-man on the first one, and everyone went deep. Nobody was watching, exactly like your son said, and he could have crawled for that first down. And for them to make the same call again, go man in the red zone when it was so packed, and no one's facing him. I couldn't believe it. I don't know if that was Salah's call or Olberg's call, but that was their fault. Right. It was unbelievable. They just handed them the game there. And I sent you a text saying this I'm so aggravated by that. If you're going to lose, doing the smart thing. If they outplay you, fine. But they just bungled that completely, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, let me go back to the question I just asked. If you were coach, would you have put a spy on him? And I had in mind Ashton Davis, who's been fairly active this year.
Yes. If you're not going to run, if you're not going to play a zone, and these 3rd and 22 is what they usually do. Is you play a zone. The guys line up about 3 or 4 yards in front of where the first down is going to be. You make them play in front of you. But if you're going to go man to man, you got to have someone who's going to keep an eye on him. Because Mahomes he's good, but I mean, come on, any quarterback in the league could have run for those first downs. Those were ridiculously open.
Right. Yeah, Ray. I'm looking at the stats, and it's amazing how sometimes there's an old expression: there are lies, damn lies, and statistics, and I see that my guy, Bryce Huff, he wasn't credited with one tackle, but to me, he was unbelievable last night. The pressure he was putting on, I thought he had a great game, and I think I keep hearing that he might be a player that the Jets might trade if they're sellers at the trade deadline. I don't understand it, Ray. I mean, we've talked about this before. How did you think he played last night? Don't you think Joe Douglas has got to wrap this guy up?
Well, they keep track of pressures, so yeah, he had a bunch of pressures. He was very active. Isn't he the one who got the call in the end zone for the safety?
Yes.
Yeah. So
yes.
He's. I mean, I don't know why you would let a guy go who seems to be one of your most productive guys when he's on the field. On the other hand, depending on what they're looking for, they'll probably get a pretty good return. I think other teams see him too.
Well, what would you consider a return that would satisfy you for him?
They're talking about a 3rd-round pick.
It's insane.
You can't get a guy like that in the 3rd round in the draft.
You could if you had about 50. If you had about 50 shots at it, you'd find one. That's what it would take. Yeah.
Oh my God! And
I'd take nothing less than a second, and I probably wouldn't even take that. I wouldn't get rid of him. So for me, I'm not a good judge of what I would take because I don't know what when I like somebody. I don't know really if there's something that I like that they would get unless it was another player that they could really help them or something like that. But draft picks, I'm not big on.
Right,
trying
but
draft.
Would you agree that they have to somehow wrap this guy up? They
got
to lock him up. This guy's a player. And Ralph, I don't know if you saw it or if you would shut it off at all. But I thought that, and I've been on him since we got him. I thought it was a waste to get him. Randall Cobb made a beautiful play for a first down. when he reached with the ball. Now
No.
that's a veteran experience play, Ralph. So
Right.
what were your thoughts on Randall Cobb?
Yeah, I mean, he helped. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I still want to see Xavier Gibson get more touches, like you've been
Yes,
saying.
yes,
He's so close so many
yes.
times to breaking him. One veteran who we all didn't want, and he stinks, is Cook. He's useless. He goes
Horrible.
down on first contact. He
Horrible.
doesn't fight for anything. He's just cashing his paychecks. They never should have signed him.
Never should have.
I would much rather have Michael Carter running the ball than him. I'd rather they try Izzy Abanikanda. You know, rookie running backs can do fine. This guy is done as
Useless.
far as mentally, and they should have never signed him in the first place. And he's wasting touches for Breece Hall. And one thing a funny story I'll tell you about the Breece Hall, the long run he had.
I thought he could have went for a touchdown if he just.
I thought so, you know, too. And when he got tackled, I'm cursing, and my girlfriend is sitting with me going, "That was a great play. You're not satisfied?" And they say, "No, because they're not going to get any points out of this. You watch right now." And of course they didn't, because that's the Jets. And and the same thing with that long one in the first game. They settled for a field goal. He's close to being back. He's not quite there yet, but I love Breece Hall, and he got 5 touches yesterday. Yeah. I don't know how many Cook had, but he should have had all of Cook's touches.
Ray, did you think that Hall could have broken that one? I thought if he cut the other way at the very end, he could have broken.
I mean, possibly. I just, I like Rouse. I don't think he's 100% there yet. So I think we're going to see him getting tracked down regardless, a lot of times. You had mentioned Cobb, and the other thing I wanted to mention about him was that a great veteran play to get the first down, but if you remember, he broke up what should have been a pick later in the game and when they showed the replay, I didn't realize it till I saw the replay that he just stuck his hand in there specifically to knock it away.
Right. You're absolutely right.
That was another great veteran play by him.
But I got to tell you some incredible irony too, which is I don't know what you call it, but I was trying to think, and thank God they are throwing the ball to Jeremy Ruckert, and he looks great. I'm saying, who does this guy remind me of? And I'm saying his frame is not as big, but he kind of reminds me of, there's an old tight end for the Patriots, Russ Francis. And I saw that last night. And the irony is 20 minutes before we came on the air, came over that Russ Francis died in a plane crash up in Lake Placid, New York. It just came over the air like around 11:30. So it's amazing how we thought of it. So,
Russ Francis is faster. He was fast,
yes,
very fast. He was a great athlete.
Yeah,
but they have to take advantage of this guy.
They
definitely.
Do. So I want to, at this point,
just to show what he can do.
Yeah, I just want to say condolences to the family of Russ Francis. It was in Lake Placid, New York. He actually bought Lake Placid Airways. He was fascinated with aviation, and it was a plane crash. So his brother issued a statement like maybe he died at something he loved to do. All right, let's move on with the Jets. And that field goal, Ray, that hit the uprights. My wife was watching with me, and I told her if it was Buffalo, it would have bounced once or twice and come in. And I think was it the Eagles when it went back and forth that year and it went into, which was something. Now, for everyone that's in love with Zach Wilson, and I want to give him credit, he played much better.
There were very few people who were in love with him at this point.
Nobody fell in love with him, but they were happy.
Keep in mind, he missed in the second quarter.
Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
He was right there. That's a touchdown.
He didn't put enough air on that one. Yeah.
And even on the Allen Lazard catch down the sideline, I mean,
that
was lead him.
That was play by Lazard, definitely.
Yeah, it was a good play by him. So now the pass to Lazard for a touchdown, like I said, it was really a Pro Bowl, all-pro pass. It was phenomenal. And Ray, what were your feelings on the way? And I've been knocking them all year, but I want to know what you saw, C.J. Mosley.
Other than the pick that went right through his hands. I thought he had a solid
That's one
game.
101 a week for that guy.
Yeah.
I know.
Unbelievable. You have to say
No,
you have to at least you have to say he's in the right position. You know, he knows where to be.
Right.
yeah, yes, but and I never understand these guys with those gloves. I don't know how these guys drop anything, but he finds a way. But at least he caught the second one, so he
Right.
got one. I like Mosley. I just think he's getting to the point where we've got to have somebody ready if they're not going to have him next year. He is a leader among the players. He does, for the most part, keep guys on the field in the right spot. He's the guy who kind of just controls everything and keeps everything in hopefully in the right position. But
Yeah.
he's getting older. I mean, if this is his last year, I mean, I won't be totally upset, but I want to know who's going to come in and fill his shoes, because right now I don't trust anybody out there of these other linebackers to be able
Right.
to take the call on the plays and stuff.
And Ralph, your guy, Quincy Williams, very
Yeah.
active. I like the way he played.
He just brings so much energy. I love his game. You know, unlike Whitehead, when he hits someone, they go down. Obviously, it's a lot bigger than Whitehead, but he gives it to you every game. I thought he played better than his brother, actually, who I thought had a decent game, but nothing special for Quinn and Williams.
Ralph, I want to follow up with you first. And just say, is it me or is it all year Michael Clemens is a waste so far?
Well, it's funny. I was watching a tweet on one of the plays where he got held. He sort of got grabbed by the ankle. Another missed call. He gives the effort, but it's kind of like Jermaine Johnson. Jermaine Johnson's a better athlete, but I think eventually he'd be a solid player, but I don't think he's got the talent, the athleticism to be anything special. I thought we were kind of excited about the mystique of this guy's personality and his whole build and everything. But yeah. I think he can be better down the line than a guy like what's his name, the kid from '94, Solomon Thomas. I think he'd be a better player than him eventually, but nothing special.
I made a note on some of the big plays, and this is Jets Rewind. And by the way, for people that I had a couple of notes that they're having problems getting it, you could always go to Apple Podcast. You could Google it, then put a comment in and just put Jets Rewind, and we're right there. And you click it, and we'll be right on the air. But anyways, we covered some big plays. The 3rd and 22, and then I guess it was another 3rd down play. I put the fumble by Zach, but a couple of other plays. And as Zach Williams recovered the fumble, this might be the difference between, being having a good game and being a great quarterback. Mahomes fumbled and he recovered.
That's right, and he jumped for a first down. And really,
kills me. It always had. I remember, was it last year that Mac Jones, the same thing happened?
Exactly. And it's just a Jets thing that they can't get fumbles and on either side of the ball. It's just another thing that we see constantly. I don't understand it. I really don't.
Yeah.
You'd think a lot of that is luck, but
right. And a couple other plays I put down, I want Ray's reaction. 2 others, I put the DJ Reed letting up the 1st down and 3rd down play. He was late to get to the sideline. And then I put Connor McGovern, ineligible downfield.
Oh,
and
that one.
Brutal.
I don't know what type of play game he's going to get rated, but I saw him, I don't know, it was Chris Jones or someone else. Chris Jones went in and he tried it like a chip block, let him go, which I couldn't understand, looking for somebody else. I don't know if his game is deteriorated, because I've been giving him compliments at the beginning of the year. Ray, give me your reaction. Those 2 plays, the Connor McGovern, ineligible, and DJ Reed giving up that 3rd down play.
Well, I'm not sure which DJ Reed play we're talking about, which third down play we're talking
It
about for
was a
that matter.
pass like to the left side of the screen. Maybe Ralph remembers it.
Yeah, I remember it. There was a miscommunication on that play. He was annoying.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
The
yeah,
guy
yeah.
was running in motion. I don't
Yeah,
know. It might
now
have
I
been on
remember.
Reed, but
That's
it
not
might not have. Somebody screwed up. It
no.
might have been Reed though.
He didn't you could see, I think it might have been Mosley. Somebody waved to him late, go out there because
Yeah.
he was looking to who was following him across at first, and then they stopped, and I don't
Right.
think
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
didn't talk to each other. He was frustrated that so that was a miscommunication between the guys. So I'm not killing him for that because I don't know if maybe whoever followed him across was supposed to go, okay, you take him, or I don't know how they worked their communication, but obviously there was a communication breakdown. McGovern's a whole, he wasn't that far down the field. He was just far enough because I guess you get a yard, and he was about
Yeah.
2. So he might have lost track of where he was, but it was so irritating because
Another
um,
killer. It was a killer
yeah,
that
it
play.
was
Yeah.
a killer penalty.
Now, Salah might say, or they might say behind the scenes, Zach held the ball a half a second too long. Like Connor McGovern and the other offensive linemen, a lot of times
Yeah.
they'll make contact and then they teach them count like up to either one Mississippi or two Mississippi. So maybe
Yeah.
it wasn't his
He
fault.
was just kind of standing there though, like he
Oh
got
my
out there and just
God.
wait. Just was like, oh,
It was
how
a
are you
killer
there?
because the play looked pretty
It
good.
was a killer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It did.
we're going to wrap this up, and I'm going to ask you if you want to add anything. Just a couple of stats. Zach was 28 for 39, 245 yards, 2 TDs. By the way, I just want to go back. I didn't touch upon it, but last week, I got to tell you, Robert Saleh, who I have a lot of doubts about, for him to come out and say something like, well, Zach improved after that New England game because he didn't throw an interception is insulting to all Jet fans. I don't want to judge my quarterback by how many interceptions and how many turnovers he has. To me, it's a bottom line business. It's either you win the game or you lose the game. That's all that matters to me. So I forgot to mention that. I just wanted to throw that in.
Well, Marty, let me just ask you this. Last year in the Green Bay and Denver game, they won those games and Wilson was useless. I mean, would you consider he had a good game?
I was happy. I just want to win.
You were happy, but
Yeah.
in the long run, when I watched those games, I said this is not going to work long term, and I'm concerned. And if Salah were to come out then and say we won the game, he played a good game, I wouldn't have bought it then. I would have said no.
But he probably did anyway.
Probably,
I don't
yeah.
remember. Yeah.
Look, his job, I think he feels right now, is to do whatever he can to keep Wilson from falling apart mentally. To show him that we have confidence in you, even though it's all empty shit stuff that he's saying.
Ralph,
Nobody believes it.
Let me interrupt you, and Ray, you could chime in too. Do you think two things with Robert Saleh? Is he starting to feel the collar tighten, number one? And number two, is this whole thing with Zach Wilson that he was talking about up till this past game that he looked good, is he falling on the sword for Joe Douglas?
Yes, I think he you can see the tension in him. It's getting to him, and it's frustrating. And these calls just drive him nuts. And is he falling on the sword for Joe Douglas? No, I don't think he's falling on the sword for Joe Douglas. That might be what happens, but I would say that it's more about him just keeping Zach Wilson and keeping encouraging him, and because what we talked about it last week, all the stuff that's going on in the media and on social media, and it's he's got to keep this guy upright, and I think it is insulting to us, and it's ridiculous at this point. I mean, we watch him and we will judge him, and we're not going to buy the BS. But yeah, I think he's feeling it.
Ray, how about your take? You think he's feeling the collar tighten on him?
I don't know if he feels a collar tighten on him as far as worrying about his job, but I think he feels the pressure that he isn't. We got off to a good start with an exciting win, but we haven't really done anything since. And I think this was as bad as it was to lose again to the Patriots, and as bad as the Dallas game was. I think this one probably was harder to take because it was, they played a good enough game to actually win, and they just a few things went wrong, didn't go their way. And so, yeah, I think he's feeling the pressure to get another win under his belt, and try and get things rolling.
And
So, yeah, I mean,
yeah.
but as far as Joe Douglas, I don't think he gets involved in that. I don't think he is covering for Joe, and I don't think he blames Joe.
Ralph, you made a comment, or maybe I did, about that. Everybody's got a free pass because of what happened to Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
But a report came out this week that Woody Johnson said that there is no free pass. A woman reporter came out and she said that Woody Johnson had said, he didn't say in those terms, and but he said to the effect that he's going to evaluate everything after the season.
I mean, and of course, the other aspect to that is if Aaron Rodgers wants to come back and Aaron Rodgers says to Woody, I want to play for Sal and Joe Douglas, then Woody's going to have to do it.
Right.
So I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have as much say in this as anyone.
That's a great point, Ralph. Very good point.
No doubt.
Another thing, go on, Ray.
If those guys go, that means Hackett goes, and he isn't going to want Hackett to get canned either. So if Rodgers says he wants to stay, everybody's going to stay unless he's on board with it. Right.
I wanted to talk a little about Sauce Gardner, Marty's favorite player.
And I was going to ask you about that, and I'm just going to I hate to interrupt. You're going to carry on, but include last year. What was the one thing that we were saying about Sauce Gardner last year?
Well, in training camp, they used to put mittens on him because he's so grabby. And he was getting away with murder last year, and he's not going to get away with it this year. And that play, I don't think it was really egregious play. And my feeling about calling pass interference is, it's kind of like baseball umpires at the beginning of a game. You establish your strike zone for that game. If Sauce was doing that early in the game and they didn't call it, and then they call it on that play, then that's a bull-esque play. If he wasn't, then he was just grabby. He's got to get out of that habit, because it's not going to be the last time that we get screwed over by that, and it's getting frustrating for me.
Right. I agree. No, you're right. And we all agree he's got the talent. He's got to use it correctly. He's got to be disciplined on both Ray, as your friend Warren says, on both the short and the long passes. He's got the talent. But, something like that. Listen, I when I coach baseball, I would always tell my team, don't put the game in the hands of the umpire. There's enough opportunities that we're going to have for you guys to put yourself in a position to win. And I'd say the same thing about the Jets. They had a number of opportunities to win that game. They couldn't stop Kansas City on third down plays. They couldn't contain the quarterback. They were horrible tackling, which I wanted to mention before we close this out. I never saw teams
the first
Jets
quarter
get yards after contact. The whole year, it's just beyond belief.
Yes.
And that's from a defense where they were bragging they're like the 85 Bears. It drives me crazy.
Yeah. It was just coming out flat and not these other guys have all the energy on the other team. And, if you don't have energy and you're not, motion, you're not playing within football, you're going to get run over. And that's what it happened in the Dallas game with their running back, who's not a great running back either, but the guy was just not giving up. And it was so funny that they were comparing Pacheco to Marshawn Lynch, because that game with Marshawn Lynch in Buffalo, where he carried half the team like 10 yards.
Kerry Rhodes.
He
carried Kerry Rhodes on his back. Yeah.
I mean, like, it all goes back to this team not being ready to play when they step on the field at the beginning of the game.
Ray, I want your thoughts, but I mean, I'm watching this guy Pacheco, who's from Rutgers. God bless the guy.
7th round pick
from Jersey.
Yeah.
He's like breaking tackles, and then I'm seeing Dalvin Cook. They breathe on him, and he goes backwards a yard. Ray, what were your thoughts? Because you always tell me about that too.
I just I don't like our run defense at all this year. I don't I don't know the stats, but it feels like to me every time I watch it that we're giving up 100-yard game to somebody on every team we play. I know this, that guy Pacheco, who we didn't wrap up numerous times. I don't care how many times he spins and how shifty he is, wrap him up and he'll go down. And that bothered the hell out of me that they let him run wild. We let Ezekiel Elliott look like he was a rookie again. I don't know if we stopped Pollard. It just seems like
not at all. He was just like doing what
we're getting run everywhere. I don't know. The Buffalo game, did we hold them under 100? I don't know. I mean, it seemed like every team has run on us, and that I never thought that was going to happen this year.
They're getting gashed. I mean, some of these holes,
these aren't little runs
ridiculous.
Either. They'll stop a guy, then they'll give up a 15, 20-yard run to somebody who shouldn't. But that, as far as well, you said it the best, Ralph, and it's what I was thinking. As far as the Sauce thing, I thought they were letting them play the whole game. My own opinion. They were letting, both sides kind of get a little handsy, like they do on all of them. They let them do it. And that was really, at that point, you're going to all of a sudden get, you're going to get ticky-tack, call it the same. And if they were letting them play that way all game, I don't blame, I'm not going to say they gave the ref the opportunity to call it on them. It's like at the beginning of the game, you're figuring out what the refs are going to let go. And you hope you expect it to be that way the whole game. And then this ref decides one ticky-tack little move. And the worst part of it was we also intercepted the ball on the play.
Well, that's it, Ray. I was going to ask you, because it came up, what were your thoughts about how late he threw the flag? Did you notice that?
Oh, yeah. He threw the flag when he was running the kickback.
Yeah. When it was obvious that actually Michael Carter held on to the ball, he threw the flag.
Yeah, you almost hit Michael Carter with the flag, saying, "We can't have this."
I hear the fans all saying, it's Kansas City. They treat them with kid gloves, and I got to say, Kansas City got a gift in the Super Bowl last year at the end of that holding penalty cost Philly any chance of winning the game.
Right.
So the Jets aren't the only ones who get burned.
Right. But also we got that safety, which was
which turned
the game around, which is kind of questionable.
And on the punt return for the touchdown by Xavier Gibson, there was that leg whip, which could have been called. So I mean,
we get calls.
You get calls. I mean, I think it's been rough. The timing of some of the calls that the Jets get is brutal. But you can't use that as an excuse, because you're gonna go to your grave saying that it's never gonna work.
You had opportunities again. Every game we see Mekhi Becton jump off sides, right? He did it again. So they're always
you're saying that, but Marty, they had their tackle who got 3 calls. Yeah. So they happen. I know you dislike it, but you can't just point out ours.
Oh, I know.
It goes both ways.
Yeah, and we did. Right.
Horsepower call too.
It goes both ways, except for the roughing the passer penalties.
Apparently.
There's a different rule in that one.
Right. And another thing about people who are going to nitpick Zach Wilson's game last night, if he had Mahomes' game, they'd be all over me. He threw 2 picks. He threw 2 others that should have been picks. He should have had 4 interceptions last night.
Yeah.
And he's fumbled the ball, but he held on.
And he's considered the best quarterback in the league. So, we have to have a little perspective on it.
Sure. And the good news is we are going to be playing, I guess, in Denver this week. Ray, are you going to that game?
Not determined yet.
Really?
They might go.
Yeah.
I was all set to for a while, and then stuff happened, and it's just kind of made it. So
can I ask one question I got for you guys? Is DJ Reed, is this a second? He has only a 2-year contract. This is it for him, right? This year?
I thought it was a 3-year. Was it 2?
You think it's 3? Because I'm thinking 2.
I could be wrong.
And if it's 2, I'm wondering, what do you think they're going to do about him?
We're 4 games into the year, right? As of now, again, it's a small sample size, but it looked like he played better last year.
Yeah.
for the whole year.
Yeah,
So
he
But
didn't
you can
look
say that
good.
about the whole defense. I think it's a systemic thing with the defense this year.
yeah, I'm trying to
I don't know about you.
keep
I
going.
would want him back. I
Yeah.
want Reed back. If
Yeah,
I still like him. Yeah, he was a little better, but like you say, it's only 4 games in, so who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe by the end of the year, it'll look like
it said
last year.
it said Reed's signed a 3-year contract, 33 million.
Oh, okay, good. I'm glad then.
Okay,
Thought it was.
so they last year was his first
That's
year.
right.
Now, the way Joe Douglas and a lot of GMs do it, the third year, it's an out
Right. Yeah.
for the team, so they might want to get him out. And hopefully they keep. But besides that, I'll tell you, in the Jets secondary, my favorite player is Michael Carter. I
Absolutely.
love him. That guy is
He's
phenomenal.
good. He is good. I want to ask you about Ashton Davis, though.
Oh, he's played great this year. I was
What? The guy is hardly playing. He's got more interceptions should this guy be on the field more?
He's got to be on the field. He is athletic, and that's why I would have had him spy on Mahomes.
Yeah.
I don't know if the switch went on. He makes some dumb plays, but you got to get him on the field more. Now they signed this guy Amos. He looks okay, but I'm not overly impressed with him. I would take plays away from him. Ralph, is it they playing the same safety, or is it interchangeable?
I think originally Amos was taking he took Tony Adams' place, who was a free safety, and I think that's where they see Davis. So yeah, I think it is the same position.
I want him on the field more.
Yeah,
I mean, he did this last year. He had that interception.
Which won the game for them.
Which
really.
won the game. I agree. I don't know what happened, but get him.
If he makes a few dumb plays, I can live with it, because we're living with Whitehead making a lot of really crappy plays. If we can do that, then yeah.
And again, full disclosure, I wanted to have him cut like over the summer, but this guy, I like the way he's playing. All right. We're going to wrap it up. It was, look, we'll probably be on the air either Friday or Saturday with our preview show. The good news is we're going into Denver. The defense isn't that good. And let's see if Zach can continue on. Let's see if we could start something going on. We got to beat Denver. We have to beat them. It's a must win. So for Ralph Schrager, Ray Clifford, Marty Schupak, Jets Rewind, we're heard on all podcast platforms, keyword Jets Rewind, and also check out our YouTube channel under Schupak Sports. Until next time.